What's up, everyone? Welcome back. Episode 53 of our podcast, Sippin' Sports. Chris and Aaron, how are you?
I'm great, David Barry. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing well. First weekend of March Madness. Didn't disappoint.
Yeah, best month of the year.
Yeah, we've talked about that before. But, yeah, it's a good time. It was a good time down in Iowa. Sweating a few bets here and there and having a good time.
Yeah, we sweat a couple. Did we? I guess we sweat a couple that won.
Yeah, we sweat a couple that won.
My first thought was, we sweat a couple and they all lost.
No, we sweat a couple that won.
Yeah.
I mean, for the most part, I think a lot of people probably came out even.
That's a goal.
To around even. Yeah, so you only go once. That's what they say. You only go to Iowa once a year.
Is that true?
I don't
Maybe not right.
Well, once a year.
Maybe not true for this year. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
All right, so we're jumping in. Top moment?
Yeah, last week we didn't do it, but this top moment, obviously staying on the college basketball theme. FDU, Fairleigh Dickinson, beating Purdue, kind of controlling the whole game, to be honest.
Yeah, they did.
The crazy thing about it was FDU's coach coming out, Tobin Anderson, coming out after and now accepting a new job at Iona, 5-year deal. Do you think this was one of the biggest upsets in college March Madness history?
Yeah, that's what's been coined.
It has been.
Yeah.
Really? I mean, yeah. I think the crazy thing about it was, and I was actually talking to a coworker who's a big Purdue fan. I think the Big Ten tournament really hurt Purdue because teams saw that if they pressed them and if they took away Zach Edey, they were done.
Didn't help.
How are you so bad at a press? You have a guy who's 7'4".
Yeah. But he doesn't help with the press.
I'm just saying, though, maybe once in a while put him at half court and just throw it to him and let him turn around and throw it. He's 7'4".
I mean, he's not the one dribbling the ball.
True. It's tough. Experience. Freshman point guards. Oh, here we go. Yeah, it didn't help.
I'm just saying.
It didn't help.
I've been saying that since day one.
It didn't help. But, I mean, it was still one of those games where it was like you didn't think they were going to lose.
No, you didn't.
24-point underdogs?
Yeah. Wow. And also, I think that the other aspect to it being the biggest upset is a lot of those dudes were from the D2 school that their coach came from, too.
Yeah. Makes it exciting.
So
I think it just makes also that one video of him saying, like, hey, every time I watch Purdue, I feel like we can beat him. It makes it so much better. Because now it's not just a coach talking smack. We're trying to amp up his team. Like, it's like a legit, like, hey, we can win.
Right.
Unfortunately, they lost in the second round. But that's okay.
Unfortunately. They gave it a good run while they had it.
Yeah, 100%. So, what about you?
Mine is the Furman game, the end of the Furman game against Virginia. I thought personally that was the most exciting moment of the weekend in terms of just like back and forth, one mistake into a steal, into a made 3-point shot with 2 seconds left. Like of all the other ones, I mean, you got that come to mind. You got Florida Atlantic scoring with like a second left
over Memphis. Yeah.
Otherwise,
I mean, Kansas game was pretty close. Granted, it was in the second round, but
that was close.
But I think, like you said, I think it was crazy. But I think it was one of those games too where it kind of went back and forth, and you could kind of feel that the way Virginia played once they missed a shot.
Yeah.
And then Furman kind of came down and made a 3. Not even the last 3, but kind of made it closer. You could kind of feel like, oh, this could get interesting.
Yep, definitely.
Also, I don't know if you know this. Fun fact for you. Somebody missed a free throw. And if you go watch the other episode, what was one of my things? Free throws.
Yeah,
and I get it. He missed one free throw. 80% free throw shooter.
2 guys missed one.
2 guys. I'm just saying you're an 80% free throw shooter. I get it. You don't win. That game goes to overtime. You have a chance at least.
Yeah.
So I know everyone's going to dog him, and he's a veteran player, Kihei Clark, for the bad pass and no idea what he's doing. I don't think anyone still knows what he was doing.
No.
But you make your free throws, you're up by 4, they have to foul you right away. You don't have a chance for that. So
it's true.
It's exciting. They keep showing the clip on Twitter of Kevin Harlan almost falling out of his chair.
Yeah, that's
announcing.
incredible.
I mean, he was a perfect announcer for the game. I mean,
yep.
You couldn't get any better. So, what a moment.
Yeah. Pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Minnesota Minute.
Yeah, bang. So Minnesota Timberwolves beat the Knicks on Monday. They play Atlanta Wednesday and then Golden State this weekend.
Big news.
Karl-Anthony Towns.
Might be back.
And Anthony Edwards.
Yeah.
Upgraded.
Can you imagine a full-strength Wolves team?
Well, I think that'll be exciting.
It hasn't been the case for a long time.
40-some
All right,
games.
continue. Sorry.
Minnesota Wild beat the Capitals. They play the Devils and the Flyers coming up. Minnesota Loons, 2-1. Very exciting game, I know, for a lot of the fellas who bet on them. Beat Colorado Rapids, and they play Vancouver coming up. Minnesota Baseball, unfortunately, got swept by Houston, but they beat Illinois State Monday. Do not play today. Play tomorrow, or play Wednesday, against Illinois State, and then they play Creighton this upcoming weekend. Minnesota softball beat Arizona State last weekend. Unfortunately, lost to Oklahoma State, so they went 1-1 on the weekend, and they start Big Ten play this week against Northwestern.
Bang.
So there it is. Also, I'm going to throw something out there, and this is a bold
something out
bold
there,
tape.
David.
We went to the Timberwolves game against the Celtics.
Mm-hmm.
Accurate. We felt that there was a lot of calls that were awful calls.
A lot of them.
Potential, right? I mean, we're not here to slander people, but it's your job.
We thought there were a lot of bad
And
calls.
I think a lot of people would admit there were some pretty bad calls.
Yep.
Do you think at some point that there has to be something where it's like, hey, this referee, you missed X amount of calls, you are going to get in trouble. You're going to get fined. Because a player gets fined for just mentioning a referee. Mm-hmm. And I know to a lot of these players, granted, they do make a lot more money for the most part, more than the referees. I mean, you're making $20, $30 million. But at the same time, it's like you're deciding games that are huge games that could go either way because you can't own up to the fact that you missed the call. Like, at what point of a game can a coach run across the court to call a timeout? Never. And then for the referees to have the audacity to say, well, we didn't see him because we were focusing on the ball. Even after the play, he's at the 3-point line, Chris.
Yeah.
We saw it.
I think he might have been farther.
He was in the ref's face. That's an automatic technical.
Yeah.
I don't care. Then the jump ball, you have a guy who's 7'4", Rudy, or 7'1", 7'2", I don't know. I'm calling him 7'4". He's big,
7'3",
and that's not even with an extended arm. You have a guy going against Grant Williams, who's probably 6'7".
Yeah, probably around there.
Around 6'7". So Rudy Gobert definitely has the advantage. Mm-hmm. But all of a sudden, by the time one ref is throwing the ball, the other two refs are standing on the outside of the circle. Not sure what else they're looking at, but you're standing on the outside of the circle. Mm-hmm. You're about to throw the ball, and you see 3 Celtics players all move. Nothing is called. And all of a sudden, somehow, Grant Williams jumps before the ball's even tipped, almost hits it out of the ref's hand, and they win the tip.
Yeah.
Nothing's called.
I don't know.
So, my question then is, at what point do they get held liable for that shit? Sorry for my language. I mean, it's so annoying, though, because it's like going to more Timberwolves games this year than most. Yeah. It happens all the time. Like, the better team literally gets all the calls. It's insane.
So what liability would you recommend?
I would recommend that at some point someone has to review game tape of these referees, and then they have to get docked in some way. That's what they do for the MLB. MLB the home plate umpire gets a report card of how many missed calls he has. And if you're not in the 98 to 100 percentile, you're probably getting reamed by a few people. And there's a lot more pitches that are being thrown in a baseball game than calls made in an NBA game.
A little bit slower pace.
90-some mile per hour fastball, Chris. You have a split-second reaction.
No,
it is a slower pace. I get that. But also, you have to be focused the whole game. 9 innings. Obviously, these refs weren't focused on anything. To say, oh, we didn't see him run halfway across the court. What do you mean? Everyone saw him.
Yeah. It was a missed call, definitely.
I mean, it was a missed call, and it's just unfortunate that it happens because it's like, I mean, what are we doing? You just can't miss it.
Yeah.
That's my rant. I just get so annoyed because that's why it's like, what are we doing?
It would have been nice to win that one.
Yeah. And that's why you have a chance against a great team, too. It's like most of the time we're down by 15. Mm-hmm. Like, you have a chance, you play your whole game, and then all of a sudden it's like, it comes down to the refs making, I mean, it's just tough.
Yeah, that's tough. All right, and now after that, let's go to the betting recap. It's going to be a little different today, obviously, since there were so many bets placed this weekend and there were so many good ones. We're going to let's narrow it down to two good ones, nail biters that we were positive in, and two that were bad beats.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of some, but I'll say the first day was definitely having Michigan State winning.
That was No problem.
No problem. So that wasn't even really a sweat. It was just a good bet. But then you also have, I think even sticking with that first day, you have, why can't I think of their names?
I got one off the top of my head.
Xavier comes back, so you live bet Xavier. So that was a good one.
That one was good. Mine is Vanderbilt.
At
Saturday.
NIT. So now we're talking NIT.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Still college basketball.
Yeah.
That one was definitely electric because the fellas were all on that. Mm-hmm. And they came back, 7 points in a minute? Something like that?
Yeah, it was kind of a blink of the eye.
It was almost like we had counted it out, game over. And then all of a sudden it was like, holy crap, this could actually happen.
Right.
So that was pretty electric.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you talk about, and I know we were kind of high on them to start, but like a bad beat, I would say you'd have to talk about in the first day, Charleston losing to San Diego State. We both had 5.5, and with 0.7 seconds left, San Diego State gets fouled down by 4, so they go up by 6. Well, that's annoying.
Yes, that was annoying.
That's annoying, but it's also just...
That one was annoying. Memphis losing money line, that was annoying. And what else? I think Duke losing was very disappointing. They stunk.
Yeah, I think Duke
against Tennessee
in the second round. Yeah, I think Duke losing in the second round was obviously tough. I mean, I think a great bet that we all kind of were riding with too, like Pittsburgh on the first day smoking Iowa State. Iowa State looked god awful. That game was brutal.
Yep.
But then if we're talking about bad beats, I will have to say my one bad beat of the weekend, or one of my worst bad beats, was the TCU Gonzaga game, which I know a lot of people probably were riding with TCU, but it was 4.5.
Mm-hmm.
Up by 6.
Yep.
And TCU rolls the ball.
With how much time left?
It was like a second.
0.7. Yeah.
They roll the ball, and not one Gonzaga person thinks of just standing in the way.
Well, because they had already won.
It doesn't matter. The ball literally is rolling past people, and people are just watching it go down. And this guy just hooks up a 3. Bang.
From the logo.
That's a loser. So that was a tough one, I think. 100%. I mean, that's just annoying. That's just annoying. Because it's like, that shouldn't happen. But, I mean, I think if we're going to, well, what are we doing? Beer and seltzer?
Yeah,
that's my only bad beats. I don't really have too many bad beats. I mean, another shout out, USA baseball team kind of carried me for a while. Obviously playing Japan in the championship, but
shout out hockey and world baseball.
Yeah, seriously, the only things. I mean, I've never watched so much hockey in my life, and all 3 games went to a shootout. Shootouts are electric.
Overtime and shootout.
Yeah, shootouts, I will say, are definitely electric. 3-on-3 is also very interesting.
Yeah.
I propose if it's 3-on-3 and they get a penalty, go 3-on-2. Don't go 4-on-3. Get the guy out of there.
3-on-2.
Make it more interesting.
Literally, the entire ice is open.
Yeah. It is also very surprising to me, in the one game we're talking about, the Maple Leafs game that went into like 10 rounds of a shootout. It also is very surprising to me how people literally take the shootout and they don't make a move. They just go down and flick it.
Bad idea.
It's like, bruh, play chill. Boom, 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 boom.
I haven't played too much actual hockey, but
yeah.
I feel like that would not be a very good strategy.
And I mean, some people, they can do it, and some people probably have good enough snapshots or whatever, but it's like you look at the successful ones and they all wrap around and it's like backhand top shelf.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but I don't know. I'm a big fan of, there's a guy in the Wild, probably get his name wrong, but it's like Brian Rolston. He used to come down and literally just take a slap shot. Yeah. Just take a hard-ass slap shot. And it was like that. If I'm the goalie, I'm like, screw this.
Yeah.
But, all right, enough of that.
What seltzer are we drinking today?
We're trying a whole new brand. We're trying, I think it's Nutrl.
Okay.
Vodka seltzer, real juice, mango.
Oh.
Very basic can. It's literally the most basic can you can get.
But you know what we said about those.
Those are the best usually.
Right?
Yeah.
We literally just said that.
It even has a U on the thing. It's a smiley face.
I think we said that last week.
That the more basic the can, the better.
Yeah.
It's probably true. I mean,
yep.
Whoa! That was loud.
All right. Beer that we're going with is a barrel-aged sour ale with blackberries, blueberries, grains of paradise, and citrus zest.
That was a sour.
It is.
Oh, sour
barrel-aged sour ale.
Yeah, I gotcha.
So it's from Cascade Brewing, which is in Portland, Oregon.
Cascade Brewing.
And let me tell you, if you are interested in trying this beer, it's gonna cost you a pretty penny, but we'll tell you if it's worth it.
For one.
For one 12-ounce can, it's about $7.
That's crazy. I will say these
Six and change,
Nutrls are kind of
$7.
annoying though too, because they only come in an 8-pack. 8-pack for $18.
So it's an 8-pack of.
So it's mango, raspberry, watermelon, and then some other kind, and each one has 2.
Oh, so you get 2 of each.
Yeah,
Interesting.
but still, they usually come in 12s, right? I might be tripping, but I'm pretty sure they come in 12s.
Well, that sounds.
8?
No,
12, right? Because 3 of each.
Yeah, 12.
That's what it has been the last few times, at least.
I think 12 is normal. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's try this Nutrl mango.
Nutrl.
I'm glad we're doing mango.
Definitely smells mango-y. It's got a lot of smell.
Yeah, it does.
I just feel like looking at it though, since it's clear with bubbles, it just reminds me of like a Truly.
We'll see if it tastes like it. But I like the smell. I like mango. Have you ever had a mango with the Tajin like powder stuff? Seasoning?
Tajin?
I think that's what it is.
I don't know. Is that like a fruit? Like, is that like a health thing? Like, is that a health thing? Like, you put Tajin fruit.
It's a spice.
Tajin spice on
There it is. It is Tajin.
I don't know. Is that chili lime? Is that salsa?
No, it's seasoning.
So
But-
you just put it on there?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
You pour it on there.
I don't know if I've really ever even had like mango.
That's what. So when I lived in California, at the pier they had these people that would sell fresh fruit, and they would like pour it on.
The spice.
Yeah,
Damn.
the Taj, and it was so good. It was fresh mango.
Is it spicy?
It's got some spice.
It's got a little kick.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it would just be like a big cup of mango, and then they would just pour it on there. And I'm pretty sure they would put lime juice in there too, so it'd be like lime juice.
Oh, okay.
And the Tajin seasoning, and
That's decent.
it was so good.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you the last time I've actually had like a mango. I feel like I've only get them when I go to like, if I stay in maybe like in like a hotel or something, and they have like continental breakfast. They usually cut up like fresh mango, quote unquote fresh.
Well, the extra funny thing was, whenever there were cops that would come by, they would all just ditch out, sprint away. So I don't think they were supposed to be selling the fresh fruit
shit!
there, but it was completely worth it because it was so good.
Yeah, so they were
Literally every time I saw them,
market?
I would get some.
Really?
But they weren't there all the time because they probably got chased out.
Yeah, they probably just had a constant. They were like what are those? They were like basically like a food truck.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
All right, back to the seltzer. What do you think of it?
I think it's decent. I think it is pretty good. I think it's kind of like on the, not to the extreme of like a Truly with the carbonation, but I definitely think there's more carbonation than the last few we've had.
Yep.
What
was the last one?
Well, we've had Quirk the last few, and then we've had the
Quirk.
Smirnoff ones, which were more like juice.
Yeah.
Also, shout out to our pal Brady Kelly. He was the one that also tried a Quirk when we were in Iowa. Said it was pretty good. So that's another person that said they're decent.
All right.
But yeah, those were more like juices. This is definitely more of like a seltzer vibe.
Well, this is a vodka based one.
Yep. So it's more like a high noon.
Interesting.
But it's definitely more, I think, seltzery, but I also think it's not too carbonated where it's kind of like, dang, that's overpowering.
Do you think there's a lot of flavor?
No.
I don't think there is.
No. I think the smell overtakes the flavor. I think it's more like carbonated water.
Yeah.
A little bit with just bubbles.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I definitely don't think the flavor is necessarily
The flavor
there.
matches with the scent.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think, I will say I don't think the flavor matches the scent.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing, or it just is?
I would say, I don't know. I think it's one of those things where, like, if you're going to drink a lot of seltzers, I think it's fine.
That's almost preferred.
Right, but I think
Okay.
also, because I think the difference is, like, when you have the Smirnoff ones and the Quirks that taste more like juice, they kind of feel like, I feel like they would get gut rot more.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the Smirnoff ones for sure. Like, they're just they just are, like, too sugary. It's kind of like those Simply Lemonade ones.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably the highest on that scale.
Mm-hmm. 100%. Which I think they're good for one, but I think if we're going to go multiple, I would rather have it this way than the juice way. Mm-hmm. Which, to be honest, I think the Quirk was kind of in the middle. I think the Quirk was good enough to have multiple. But
I agree.
Yeah, I think this one's okay. I'll probably give this one. I think this one's like a 5.9. It doesn't impress me a ton. Like you said, there's not a ton of flavor. Mm-hmm. It's more like a hint, but it's like kind of more so like when you smell it, mm-hmm. you're like, whoa, this is going to be super flavorful, or this is going to be whatever. But then when you taste it, it's like, just kind of carbonated water.
Yeah.
It's only 4.5, which I think is kind of normal.
I'm going to give it a 4.1.
Yeah. With real fruit juice.
It might be a little bit low, but at the same time, it's kind of just like, not a ton of flavor.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like the mango as a fruit, but I don't know if I'm a big mango seltzer guy.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of been the same with the rest of them, like the Trulies and the White Claws. Mm-hmm. Not to that extreme, but I think when you start getting to these, it's more... It literally is carbonated water just with alcohol. Where like some of them we've tried, and I keep saying this, but like some of them we've tried that are literally like thicker, juicier. Like these white, like if they're clear, it's more just gonna be carbonated water.
Yeah,
with I said,
just a hint of flavor.
Right, which I said is not the worst thing. I don't think that's kind of what a seltzer started as. Yeah. Now everyone and their mothers have seltzers, so it's like you're gonna get different variations.
And then it went to vodka, and then it went to tequila.
Right.
I feel like.
Yeah, and so now it's one of those things where it is like, yes, I get that. There's not always going to be a super colorful one, but I think at the same time, I think if you're going to have multiple, like I said, this is fine. That's why I gave it kind of a 5.9.
Yep.
But I think for just one, it's like, it doesn't impress me.
Right.
That's the wrong thing.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
All right.
Let's move on. The blueberry delight. Blueberry in paradise.
What the heck was that?
We got nice can. I like their badge, the Cascade Brewing badge up there.
Yeah. What is that? A hammer and a... What is it?
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Is that
maybe
hammer?
It's a
hammer and a nail?
A hammer and a tap, a beer tap. Is that what it'd be?
Yeah, it looks almost like a faucet thing. Yeah, it's got like the little handle.
Yeah, maybe a beer tap. But yeah, kind of cool can.
Ooh.
All right, blueberry in paradise.
Oh my god.
First thoughts.
I forgot how sours were. Wow.
It's funny because when you start to bring the glass up to your mouth, then like you can almost start to inhale the sourness.
Yeah.
I feel like that's pretty normal in a sour, but like...
But still, you don't think about it.
Sometimes it just takes you a little off guard.
Yeah, very off guard, I would say.
A lot of smell.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's
about the flavor.
It's light.
It's very light. I just don't know about the flavor.
Which is where the blonde ale comes from.
Got it. Yeah, I just don't know if there's a ton of flavor. And like you said, I think the other sours we've had weren't blueberry, were they? I want to say one was like a red.
Cranberry. I don't know what the other ones were.
I don't know what the other ones were. But this is like...
All right, let's take a look at the can. It says... Tell me if you're here, if you're feeling these. All right. Well, first off, it was aged in a barrel for 10 months. So that's probably where the price gets popped up. I don't know if this is just like special edition or what, but if you're letting it sit for 10 months, you can't really make an unlimited amount.
Right.
So you got blackberries. Feeling that?
No, not really.
I feel like I'm getting blackberries.
Blackberries?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Blackberries.
I feel like I get blackberries. Blueberries?
Mm-hmm.
You get that?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's like the majority of what I get.
Infusion of grains of paradise.
Infusion of what? Grains?
Grains. Grains of paradise.
Grains. Okay.
Yeah. Grain from paradise.
What does that mean?
Just top of the line grain.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You get that?
Yep.
Grapefruit zest.
Nope.
You don't get that?
Oh my god. I feel like every sip I take, it's getting more sour. I think there's a little grapefruit.
I feel like
I can taste there's more grapefruit than blackberry, in my opinion.
Orange peel. I get that for sure. I would say orange.
I think the orange more comes from the smell.
I would say orange peel at the end, like on the finish.
The aftertaste?
Yeah. on the finish.
Yeah, I guess you could dabble with that.
All right, so this is what it says it's supposed to taste like. Reminiscent of Jolly Rancher candies.
Okay.
You get that?
Yeah, I could kind of see that.
I can see that for sure.
I more think, yeah.
And Tootsie Pops with a refreshing and balanced finish.
No.
Maybe like the fruity Tootsie Pops.
Yeah, maybe like the fruity Tootsie Pops. But when I think of Tootsie Pop, I think of chocolate.
Yeah. Is
Like
that your
chocolate?
What's
Tootsie
your favorite
Roll.
Tootsie Pop?
My favorite Tootsie Pop?
Yeah, what flavor?
The blue one.
The blue?
Yes. I can't tell you the last time I've had Tootsie Pop.
Me either.
I think the last time, Tootsie Pop was the ones that on the wrappers you would look and try to get the stars.
Yeah, and I don't understand. I don't know
what you
ever
mean.
happened to that.
No. I think that's just like something to try to get people to buy more. But
It just doesn't mean anything.
no, you're like, don't get a reward or anything. But I don't think it's bad. I think, like I said, I think it's very sour. I think when I think of this, the taste, I don't necessarily think more of a Jolly Rancher. I more think of a, like I've said this before with the other sours, like a Warhead. It's so sour.
I gotcha. I could see that.
Also, underrated candy, I think, Warheads. Warheads used to smack.
Really?
Yeah.
You like those?
Yeah. Used to be such a big...
That's interesting that you are a fan of Warheads, but you're not a fan of sours, really.
I think some sours are good. I think the difference is, though, they're an acquired taste. Like, I think the sours that we've had before have been pretty good. I don't know. This one, it's just when the sourness stays on your lips and, like, the aftertaste doesn't go away, it's just tough.
Yep.
But
all right, what are you giving it?
I'm giving it a 5.2. I just think it's average at best, if not. I just don't know if I could handle the sourness for 2.
Okay. I'm going to give it a 6-7.
So you like it.
I think...
The orange peel is definitely growing on me. I can definitely taste that.
Can you?
Yeah.
Yeah, see?
It doesn't change my answer, but I can...
No, that's okay. I think that in terms of sour, I think it's pretty good. It's light, so it's easy to drink.
Yeah.
I think it has a good mix of flavors.
Okay.
And it's all kind of like pulling you every different way, which I kind of like.
Oh, okay.
And it just like finishes well.
Yeah, the orange. I think the orange at the end is actually, like, now that you say it, it is a good touch. Like I said, I didn't taste really the blackberry or anything. I almost just got all blueberries, so it's like I didn't have as much of that. But
I gotcha.
I do think, like you said, I do think it is a decent sour. You just have to get acquired to the taste for sure.
Yeah. No, I agree completely.
Yeah, there it is.
All right. Well, we got.
You want to review them?
Yeah, we got 5.9 for Dave, 4.1 for me for the Nutrl mango.
Oof, not great.
Then you got 5.2 for Dave, 6.7 for me on the Blueberry in Paradise from Cascade Brewing.
Interesting.
And
that's what they call a review.
A review,
Bang. Yeah.
Alrighty, David. Let's recap basketball.
Let's talk about it. March Madness, NCAA tournament.
First 2 rounds recaps. You want to go region by region?
Yeah, I think what we could do is we could let's just recap what we were surprised about. We don't have to go every single game, obviously, but
No.
I think a few games that might have surprised us.
Do you want to do region by region?
Yeah, let's
with
go
that?
region by region.
All right, lovely. Let's do the South region first. That's Alabama's region. Yeah. What were you surprised by?
Well, I will say the one thing that was crazy to me was watching the first game. So that was West Virginia, Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
I was very surprised that Maryland won that game. I thought West Virginia was truly dominating the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I was also very surprised with West Virginia how they took out their best player, Stevenson, and he never played to start the second half. He didn't play for the first 10 minutes.
Did he have fouls?
No. They said that when they talked to the assistant coach, they said that they relayed that they just didn't like how he was playing in the first half. He was turning the ball over too much and he didn't look like himself. Their best player. So he comes in the game with 8 minutes left and starts shooting, and it's like you could tell the guy hadn't been out there for a while.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's just tough. I don't understand the thought process, obviously. not a coach. But I think the other one that really surprised, well, obviously we've talked about this a little bit, but like the Furman game was very exciting. That has to be already one of the most exciting games of the tournament.
Yep.
And then obviously, last but not least, Arizona getting bounced.
Yeah.
I will say this. I think it is crazy. I mean, you watch the post-game interviews, and Arizona's coach, obviously, I think he's a newer coach. Seems like he's a newer coach, first or second year.
Well, he came from Gonzaga.
But I think he brings up a good point, and he was talking about it, and he was like, you know what, we didn't play the best, and you know what, my coaching wasn't the greatest. I have a lot to learn. But he didn't make any excuses. He just said they were a good team and they just beat us. Mm-hmm. And he said he'll learn from it. So I think it's good to see stuff like that.
Take accountability
and just realize also, like, hey, at the end of the day, sometimes the better team doesn't win. Because, I mean, 99 out of 100 times, Arizona probably wins that game.
You think it would be 99?
95.
Yeah. I'm
not going to say 99, but it's in the 90s because, well, the other game that's 99 would be Purdue's game, but
right.
But I think that was so crazy. I think that's what makes it so fun, though, is it is one game, and it's one game that, like, hey, if you go cold shooting, they only scored 55 points.
Right.
You score 55 points, you probably aren't going to win a ton of games.
They average like in the 80s, top 10 team in the country, I think.
Right.
In scoring.
Right. 100%. And they obviously won the Pac-12, so it's like they're down the team.
No, they did not win the Pac-12 tournament.
Pac-12 tournament, yes.
Yeah.
Right. They won the Pac-12 tournament.
It's true.
So yeah, I think it is crazy. I think it is one of those things where it just is interesting. I mean, there's a lot of exciting games, but what about you? What stood out to you in that region?
I think the things that stood out, obviously the things that you said. San Diego State played a lot better than I was expecting them to.
They looked very good in the second round too.
Yeah, first and second round, honestly. Like I think everybody was high on Charleston, and that didn't go over very well for those people.
Right.
So I think San Diego State has shown very well so far. Obviously, going up against Alabama the next round is probably not going to be the easiest task.
Who has looked unbelievably dominant.
They look very good. I think it was a little disappointing that Baylor's showing against Creighton. I think we talked about it yesterday, where it was like they weren't really ever in the game.
Right.
And it didn't seem like there was ever a point where Creighton wasn't going to win that game.
100%. And I think this also gives testament to Creighton, though. Like, Creighton was a team at the beginning of the year that people were saying, like, hey, they can make a national championship run.
Yeah.
And, like, they're a good team. They're obviously ranked and stuff like that. But I think what they just outsized Baylor. From all assets, they just looked better than Baylor. Mm-hmm. And I think that was kind of Baylor's thing too. Is like, this was one of those Baylor teams that it was like, okay, they could get upset if they don't play this way. And they gave up 85 points.
Yeah.
I mean, Baylor's usually a pretty solid defensive team. But if we're talking about Baylor, last thing about the South, they did cover their first game. I said it. It was quite a bit, but they smoked them. They won by 18. They covered the 10.5. They always cover the first round of the tournament.
There you go. That's all you need to know.
We give out only winners.
Yeah, I think that it's set up very well for Alabama. I'll just say that.
Yeah, I think this Princeton game against Creighton, though, will be very exciting, though, too, because it's like, you never know what's going to happen. Princeton against Missouri looked very good. They didn't miss a shot.
Princeton looked good, yeah. But I think I don't foresee any issues.
Yeah, I don't see any
for
issues.
Creighton.
I also don't see any issues for Alabama. I think it's one of those things where, like, for Alabama, a team that likes to run and gun and score a lot of points and do all that stuff, when San Diego State's kind of the opposite, they're more defensive forwards, it would be very interesting. I think Alabama's just a powerhouse.
Well, we've said it before. It's challenging when the inferior team on paper is more of a defensive focused team.
Yep, 100%. Yep, totally.
So if the better team on paper is an offensive focused team, then they have a lot more room to work with.
Yep, 100%. Totally agree.
So you think Alabama covers 7.5?
Yeah.
I do too.
I think Alabama covers. I don't know about the Princeton cover, though.
10?
Yeah, I just don't know. Because Princeton can get hot. And I think Princeton will potentially keep it close, but
I think it'll be, I mean, obviously the spread is 10 for a reason, so I think it'll be around 10.
Yeah.
Give or take. Like somewhere between that 7 to 12 range, I think there's a pretty good chance that it'll be around there.
Yeah. And as we've seen, teams in the final 5 seconds just love to huck up the 3.
Yeah. So if I had to pick one, honestly, I might pick Princeton to cover that.
Yeah. I think we're both both saying Alabama plays Creighton.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah. All right. Let's go to the Midwest. Anything?
I think a lot shook out how you would expect it to.
Mm-hmm.
I was a little bummed that Drake didn't win that first round game, but I think after watching the games, it wasn't surprising that Miami is where they are now.
Yeah. Well, and I think even in the second round, Miami looked head over heels way better than the first round against Indiana and just took it to them from the get-go.
Yeah.
They just smoked them.
That game was also one that really wasn't that close ever.
Yeah. And I think here's the thing is, and I think it is one of those things like with a lot of teams, like they kind of get comfortable with the surroundings and they kind of get comfortable in the second round. Because even Xavier was the same way. I mean, Xavier came out so hot against Pittsburgh and it just never looked back.
Yep. There was some moments in that game where Pitt started to push a little bit, but I think sometimes the best thing that can happen for a better team or a better seeded team is to have to play a close game towards the beginning of the tournament to kind of like break them out of their just like casualness of, oh yeah, we're just going to go in and beat this team and it's not really going to be challenging at all. Like if there's a time towards the beginning of the tournament against a team that you on most nights are going to beat, then that can kind of like whip you into shape of like, oh crap, like if we don't play how we can, then we're going to be done.
Yeah. Well, I think a team that showed that was like the Houston was a big reason. Like
exactly.
Houston
That was the exact same thing I was thinking.
I mean, Houston in the first game, like there was a little bit of a scare, like holy smoke, this Northern Kentucky team is like taking it.
It's close. Could they beat the number one?
And I think that might be, and I think after this, watching them smoke Auburn. But this is the thing is with Houston, what might be their kryptonite is the fact that they always start the game very slow. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why it is. Even against Auburn, you look at Auburn, they were losing by 10 at half?
Yeah.
And they picked it up, sure, in the second half. And I get that. But like against Northern Kentucky was kind of the same way. It was kind of that feel of like, holy moly, the only reason they're winning this game is because they keep getting offensive rebounds and just their size is just bigger.
Yeah.
But then you kind of look at that second half of the Auburn game for Houston, and like now it's like one of those things like, okay, this is why Houston is projected to potentially win the whole thing.
Right.
I think they're behind Alabama as the favorites, but
Correct.
They're just that dominant. And like Sasser looks fine. All these guys do. So
yeah,
should be a good game against Miami though.
I have a feeling that they won't have any issue coming out strong against Miami.
No, I think it's one of those things where I think what makes Kelvin Sampson so good of a coach is like, I don't know what happens at halftime, but it doesn't matter if they're winning or losing. Like, no matter what happens at halftime, after halftime, it's a completely different team.
I would love to be in the locker room.
Well, I want to love to be in the locker room. Fly on the wall, yeah. Well, these 2 first games, I don't know what was said, especially the Auburn game, because they turned it on fast.
Oh, yeah.
And they're one of the best defensive teams in the nation, so it's like,
right.
I'm excited for that. But I also think it will be very fun to watch Xavier play Texas. I think Xavier can get up and down the court and score. Mm-hmm. And Texas has looked very good. So I think that game will be very close. I think Houston will take care of business against Miami. So I'm actually going to say it's going to be Houston versus, I have Texas on here, but after watching the last Xavier game, I also go with Texas, but I think it's going to be a close game.
Yeah. These are 2 of my top 3 games that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, it's a good side. I mean, that is
for this next round.
And I think the thing is this too, like that's a tough side of the bracket. I mean, even from the get-go, like going back to the first round games, like Penn State smoking Texas A&M. I don't think we knew Penn State potentially was going to win, but like some of us had Texas A&M. But then on top of it, against Texas, they were there the whole game. I mean, it could have gone truly either way.
They were down for a good amount of it, but then pushed at the end.
Yeah, pushed at the end. But I'm saying it was close at the end.
Yeah, it was close at the end.
So I think that'll be a fun game. But yeah, I'm going to go Houston, Texas.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so.
Then whoever wins, that's going to be your national champion.
Yeah, go Houston. Go Dogs. Go Cougs.
All right, where are we going? West now?
Yeah.
We're making our way around.
Our roundabout?
Yep. West.
I I think the biggest thing has to be Kansas.
Yeah,
I mean, it has
tough game.
I mean, I think it has to be Kansas in the sense of like, obviously repeating back to back. Obviously, their first round game looking absolutely dominant.
Yeah.
But then also at the same time, it's one of those things like I think when you look at them, like even that game against Arkansas, they were controlling it for the most part.
They were.
I mean, they
were up by what, 8 at halftime?
8 at halftime. It was either 7 or 8. I think it was 8. But then I think the difference was you kind of saw once, what's the point guard's name?
DeJuan Harris.
DeJuan Harris. Once he kind of tweaked his ankle and came out, the momentum in the first half did kind of change. But then, yeah, like you said, they were still winning by 8 points at halftime. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, Arkansas just came out and was just
at
buzzing.
The end.
Yeah.
Do you think so? Obviously, Bill Self wasn't on the sideline after his health issues.
Yeah.
So, do you think that would have changed the outcome of the game?
I do. I don't think the assistant coach is a bad coach. I mean, he obviously runs kind of the same system and.
Well, they have to run the same system.
Yeah, and it's the same players and all that. But I do think there's something said about these coaches. Like, I do think Bill Self has a way of making maybe in-game adjustments where you watch this coach, and he really wasn't. He was just kind of letting the players just go. He wasn't doing anything. He didn't change anything up. They kept doing the same thing. They literally, for the final 5 minutes of the game, they literally ran down the court and they would just walk around and then give it to Jalen Wilson and he would try to drive and kick. They didn't run a play.
I wasn't watching that closely on those types of things.
I mean, it's just one of those things. I think when you have a head coach, I think it's like the same thing. It's if Tom Izzo was unfortunately had to not coach, it would be different.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So I don't know. I think right now, I think Arkansas had a good win, but I do think UConn is one of the hottest teams in the.
UConn has looked very good.
Yeah, UConn has looked very good, but. With that being said, this game below it is probably one of the most interesting games, exciting games in all of the tournament.
Yeah, this is the third out of the 3. And I'm not saying that it's number 3 out of the 3. I think it finishes my top 3 of games that I'm most looking forward to this next round.
Yeah. Well, I think here's the thing, too. What's crazy is, like, TCU Gonzaga was a fantastic game. Obviously, stupid that they didn't cover at the end. But, like... The first round, TCU almost lost.
They did almost lose.
Arizona State looked very good.
Yeah.
And then also at the same time, like, even in the second round, like, Northwestern made a little push to UCLA.
They did.
UCLA got a few buckets, but I think this is the game that everyone will want to watch because you got a Gonzaga team who, the number 1 team in scoring, points average, and then UCLA, who's a very good defensive team.
Yeah.
But I think that the difference was also you watch that first half of the UCLA game, is like, if they want to run, they can run.
Right.
So it'll be interesting if that's how the game gets played.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was going to say. I think the thing about UCLA compared to a lot of other teams, but specifically comparing them to Gonzaga, UCLA has a lot of different ways that they can win. Yeah. They won their last game 68-63. That's going to be just like a grinded out game, defensive focused game. Then they put up 86 in the first game, so it's not like they can't score.
Right.
You know, so like if it's a scoring game, then they can keep up. If it's a grinded out defensive game, it's not like, holy crap, we can't score, everything's going to fall apart.
Right. So, well, I think they have that experience, like Tiger Campbell, obviously, and Jaquez. Like, they have that experience, but like I think the biggest thing for them is it'll just be very interesting to see how the beginning of the game goes because you do know UCLA wants to slow it down. Like, they don't want to give Gonzaga the chance to keep running.
They'll want to slow it down compared to Gonzaga.
Right,
sure.
And Gonzaga just grabs the ball to the hoop and they go.
Yeah.
So...
I would assume that they'll probably do a little bit of like a 3/4 court, just like dummy press, where it kind of like is putting a little pressure on them. But that's the beauty of having a veteran point guard is in your head, you would assume that Tiger Campbell should be able to control the pace of the game.
Right.
A little bit.
Right. I mean, that should be a very fun game to watch. Truthfully.
I'm very much looking forward to it. What about the rest of the games in this region? Was there anything that was like, ooh, that's interesting?
No, I don't think there was necessarily anything really interesting. I think the first round game, I was a little disappointed. I thought VCU would put up a better fight against St. Mary's. But I think then, I don't think that was very surprising. I also will say I thought Boise State was a lot better than they were, but Northwestern's a solid team.
Yeah.
So I think this round, this side, I mean, truthfully, all the favorites won the first round, so it's like there wasn't anything really, I guess, out there.
The only surprise to me was Arkansas over Kansas. Otherwise, there wasn't really anything that was like, oh, that's completely out of the ordinary.
Yeah, I mean, I have 3 of the 4 teams.
What is that? Literally the only upset?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I literally have 3 of the 4 teams. I think the only other game like we talked about was TCU Arizona State that came down to the wire.
Right.
But obviously TCU pulled it out. But besides that, there was no upsets besides Arkansas.
That's true.
Kansas.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And then
that's the only region that had that.
Well, yeah, because if you talk about the next region,
let's go to the next region.
Upset.
What is that? The East? Yeah, East.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing is obviously everyone's shell shocked that Purdue lost. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we didn't know a lot about Fair Lake Dickinson, but I think after even watching FDU play FAU, like that game was close for the majority of the time as well.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, FDU's point guard is probably the quickest human being I've ever seen with the ball in my life.
Very quick.
And the thing is, like you said, I think it's one of those things they started playing it. When you get a lower seed that thinks they have the chance to win, especially against Purdue, when they realize like, hey, we can play with these guys, but at halftime they realize it. Mm-hmm. It's a tough beast to slay. That was a good line by me. It was a tough beast to slay. And I think the difference at the end of the day, we've talked about this though, like Purdue struggled in the Big Ten tournament against the press. Mm-hmm. They did.
Yeah.
They struggled against the press, and they also struggled when Zach Edey wasn't able to just overpower people. Like they relied on these younger guys to shoot, and unfortunately they just didn't shoot very well.
That's correct.
And then I think the other game...
At some point you knew that was going to happen, though.
Right. So that's... Yeah, 100%. But I think it was still one of those things where, I mean, none of us are in our right mind to say, oh, we're going to pick a 16 seed over a 1 seed.
Right.
No, you're not going to. No. I think the other tough game was the Memphis game. I think that was obviously... Well, that was very fun to watch. Mm-hmm. Not only very fun to watch, but... I mean, the hardest part about Memphis is, like... I mean, I don't know. Most of you guys probably saw it. But, like, at the end of the game, like... As a coach, you have to be a better coach by calling a timeout when your guy gets on the floor. That's a coaching error.
I think I said it on here that I don't think Penny's a very good coach.
I don't think he's a very good coach at all.
He's a good recruiter, terrible coach.
Yeah, but I think the problem is, like, it's just one of those things where it's like, dude, that's also your job to call that timeout. Like, yeah, sure, maybe players should also, but, like, players were yelling. But at the same time, like, get in the ref's face, call timeout.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. And then... I mean, I feel like whoever won that game, truthfully, unfortunately, to FDU, was going to beat FDU in the second round.
Yeah.
But I think Memphis would have been a fun game to watch. I think Memphis is a solid team. Obviously, their point guard is a beast. Mm-hmm. But I mean, besides that, I mean, another big upset obviously was Duke just getting smacked, like smacked.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at just sheer number, like seed numbers, it's not considered an upset, but considering that I feel like literally everybody was on Duke.
Yeah, well, Duke was hot.
That's where the upset comes in.
Yeah, Duke actually was. Yeah, and Duke was favored in that game. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think the problem is when you watch that Duke team, like it's kind of the same thing. They got in the same rhythm where like they didn't run a play. They came down and their point guard kind of danced around with it. And then he tried to go one-on-one. And yeah, sure, he made a few shots. But then all of a sudden, Jeremy Roach their starting point guard got in foul trouble. And they were like, where do we go? Well, Proctor, keep shooting. And you score 52 points. And I know Tennessee's very good.
They're battering them on the defensive end.
Yeah, well, physically also and on offensive end. I mean, their first 2 plays, there was fouls because the center just elbowed or whatever. But I'm just saying, it's just like one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's wear and tear. But I think at the same time, I think it's like, I thought Duke was a lot better shooting team.
They struggled a little bit.
Yeah. And then obviously the other upset, Michigan State beating Marquette.
Yeah.
Very surprising. I don't know what it is. And this is where it goes back to coaching. I don't know what it is. It doesn't matter what seed Michigan State is. They always make a push. Or
who's on the team.
Yeah, they just make a push.
Just a bunch of randos, honestly.
Right. They make a push. They play together and they play hard and they just make a push. Mm-hmm. But I do think that'll be a very interesting game against Kansas State. I have Kansas State, obviously.
I watched Kansas State play Kentucky. I thought that was a very good game, and I was very into it.
Yeah.
And it made me want Kansas State to go very far, even though you still have Kansas State going to the Final Four.
Yeah. I think here's the thing about Kansas State. What makes them fun to watch is they're fun to cheer for. First-year head coach. Mm-hmm. They're just vibing in the locker room. They're having a good time.
When that video came out, it was like, yes, okay, there's one more reason why I like this team and like the vibes around the team.
Yeah, they're fun to watch. Their vibes are high. And then also at the same time, like, I mean, the Keontae Johnson story is incredible in itself. But, like, a lot of these guys, like, their point guard, called a little dude, is literally unbelievable.
Yeah.
And he just is one of those things you watch them play, and they're just very good. They fight. They work hard. So I think it will be a very good game. I mean, obviously, I would love to see Kansas State win.
Me too.
But I will say this also. I know it was I said it about 15,000 times when we were in Iowa. If you're ever watching a college basketball game and you see a 3-second call in the lane, 3-second call, you could tweet at us.
Call David.
And you'll actually get a shout out. You could call me. You could tweet at me. You could text me. I don't care what you do. We watch every single game.
I would say especially March Madness tournament game.
Only March Madness. Yeah.
That's the only.
It only stands for the next month. After that, I'm not talking about it because they do call it in.
Until next year.
Until next March Madness. There has not been, we've watched every game, there has not been one 3-second call. And I'm telling you, some of these guys camp out in that lane.
Yeah. Sheba was in the lane for 10 seconds.
And it's just like one of those things where it's like, I'm so confused. Like, you're literally watching the game and you're like, that guy is still standing there. Still standing there.
Yes.
And so I get it. I mean, I said this before the show when we were talking. I'm just glad they don't call it when it matters. Like, they just let it go completely.
Right.
But it's still like, dude, it's a big advantage when you can just get your big guy to just stand there in the middle.
Especially if you have a size advantage.
In Sheba.
Yeah.
Yes.
100%. That one is the most notable, like, coming at you.
Obviously, Purdue didn't get the memo. Just have Zach Edey stand below the hoop.
Right.
But, I mean, I think it will be interesting. Yes, I have Kansas State. I would say probably, to be honest, Kansas State, and I would go Tennessee. I think Tennessee's just going to, their physicality is just going to be too much.
I think that's what you expect, but that's not to say that that's going to happen.
Yeah, I think Michigan State and Kansas State could go either way, to be honest. But I think it was interesting, the FAU coach, when somebody asked how he's going to prepare, they were like, we're going to watch rugby videos. We're gonna do this. It's like they know it's going to be a dogfight. So
I think they got that dog in them.
Yeah, I think at this point in the tournament, obviously everyone has momentum. Everyone's riding momentum. Obviously there's better teams than not. But I also think at the same time, like, the numbers in front of your name don't really matter.
Correct.
So
that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
Okay, overall, do you think that Gonzaga beats UCLA?
I do have Gonzaga beating UCLA.
Do you think that's going to happen based off of what you've seen?
I don't know. I think the problem was, I think the hard part is Gonzaga, yes, is a fun team to watch, but, like, they don't really have a prime time. I mean, Timmy's a good player, but, like, they don't have someone that can step out and really shoot it that well.
Strother. Ken.
Yeah, he's kind of Ken, but when he started last game, he was like 0 for 5, 0 for 6, and they struggled. So I think that, but I do have Gonzaga winning just because I'm sticking to my guns, and I said no Pac-12 team will make it.
That's exactly what I was trying to get to.
Who would have thought Arizona would lose? I mean, they helped me out a lot.
Yeah. It comes down to Thursday.
It comes down to this. And I think, I mean, here's the thing. If UCLA wins, I don't see why UCLA can't go beat UConn. I think UConn will beat Arkansas, but I think they'll have a way to the Final Four. I think they're a good team. But sometimes you got to stick to your guns.
It's true.
Yeah. I mean, you could look at it right now. It's like, I think Houston will play Texas. Alabama plays Creighton.
Well, I think you could, if you're going in order of easiest route, you gotta say Alabama's number 1.
Or Houston, yeah.
No, I think Houston.
Oh, route like to the championship.
Easiest route to the championship.
Oh, I think you meant to.
I think Houston's got one of the hardest. Alabama is number 1, I think. Number 2, I would say, is probably Kansas State.
Yeah. And
then you go UCLA.
Then Houston.
Then Gonzaga, I would go.
You think, wait, UCLA over Gonzaga?
UCLA would be number 3 on that list. Gonzaga would be number 4 because they play one hard game in UCLA and then they move on. And I think playing UConn or Arkansas would be easier than, like, I think Houston playing Texas or Houston playing Xavier after Miami.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I guess that's a toss-up.
Like, I think the Midwest.
I think if Gonzaga plays
UConn,
I think if Gonzaga plays UConn, it's the same as Tennessee playing Kansas State for whoever wins. Because I think both teams are good. I mean, they just match up differently. Like, UConn is a very good team who could match up well against Gonzaga. Tennessee doesn't score very much. Kansas State has kind of just been riding the high.
So you think
I think Alabama for sure has the easiest route to the Final Four.
This would be the comparison. Okay, so a 2-game stretch playing so if we're talking Gonzaga, it's playing UCLA and then UConn. Or it's playing Michigan State, Tennessee. Which one's easier? I think it's Michigan State, Tennessee.
Yeah.
So
but that's what I'm saying.
So then the next one would be, playing UCLA and then UConn or Gonzaga.
Well, so I'll say this. So I think Alabama has the easiest road.
Yeah.
And then I'll say this. I think the easier road in comparative is either Tennessee or Kansas State.
Yeah, Kansas
versus
State.
UConn. So like UConn has to beat Arkansas. And then Gonzaga has to beat UCLA. And then that next game, if it's UConn-Gonzaga, is a tough game. But these other 2 games, like Tennessee beating FAU, I don't think is as hard as those other 2 games.
Right.
So I would say that venture, So I would say the East, whoever comes out of the East, has the second easiest path. Versus the West. And then obviously the Midwest is the hardest. I mean, this
easily
is
the hardest.
Yeah. But go Cougs.
Yeah,
also, if anybody cares, second place, Simmons Sports Bracket.
Who is first place, David?
No big deal. Why don't I tell
Not you.
No, I'm second. I'm in second.
Who is first?
Hayes. Is that one of you?
I
don't know who that is.
I believe that is probably Nick Hayes.
Nick Hayes.
Yep.
Doing pretty well. Max score of 1510 has the highest max score out of anybody.
1510, huh?
1510. Yeah.
What's your max score?
Max score is 1400.
Okay.
We really need Houston to win, to be honest.
Shout
out to our guy, Clem Johnson. Love you, pal. Appreciate the support. Unfortunately, this was a tough year for you.
He's in third to last now.
But he has 390 potential. He has 80 more potential points.
Yeah, that's not what you want to see.
Yeah, right now our buddy Andrew Paul is currently in last, but that's okay.
He's still.
I don't think you'll finish there. I don't think you will. So.
I mean, let's be honest. Here's the deal. If Texas wins it all, I'm winning.
Wait, what? Not really, dog. You only have 1,400 potential points.
Exactly. But that means that I would get the champion.
Yeah. I mean, but it depends. Because if Alabama goes to the championship, they'd probably make just as much points.
They would get 16, and then I would get 32 additional, 320 additional.
And they would get 100. So you get 160 more points than that person.
No, I would get... If the thing is, they probably don't have Texas going to the championship, right?
We'll see.
Most likely. Most people likely don't have Texas going to the championship.
They have Houston.
Exactly. So that would be the Final Four game. I would get points, and the championship. I would get points.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. Your potential is 1,400.
Because I have Texas and Alabama playing in the championship.
Right, but what I'm saying is that if a person has a winner that's Alabama that's way above you, and Alabama goes to the championship, you're only getting 160 more points than them.
No, 320.
Okay, so 320.
Right.
But right now, what are you at? You're at 320. Jake Cole is at 380. So he'll keep getting more and more points. I mean we'll see what happens. I don't know how this point thing works.
There's 320 total points per round, right? So the first round, there's 32 games, so you get 10 points per game. Mm-hmm. The second round, there's 16 games, so you get 20 points per game that you get correct. The third round, there's 8 games, so then you get 4 points per game, or 40, sorry.
Okay.
Then the next round, there's 4 games, right? The Elite 8, there's four games, so there's 80 points per game. So it always has to equal 320 per round. So then when you get to the championship, to go to the championship, you get 160 on one side, you get 160 on the side if you get it right. And then if you pick the champion right, you get 320 points. Since I'm the only one with Texas as probably in the championship, mm-hmm. then if they get to the championship, then that's 160 points that I get that nobody else gets.
Right.
I have Alabama, which is probably the most popular team coming in from the left side.
Yeah.
And then if Texas wins, that's 320 points that nobody else wins.
Right.
So you can make up a lot of ground
if you have the champion.
You pretty much have to have the champion to win bracket pools.
Right.
So the benefit is if you have a team that nobody else has, if that team wins, then you're probably going to win as long as you didn't completely mess up in the first couple rounds.
Right. Yeah, it will be interesting. I mean, here's the deal. It's like we'll talk next week about it, but I mean, I just don't. Texas, yeah. If Texas wins, you probably have a good shot. Like I said, I don't know leading up to it because I'd have to go through every single person's bracket.
Right.
But yeah, I think that's the positivity of picking someone who's not
Alabama or Houston, essentially.
Right.
It looks like there was a lot of UCLA as well.
Tennessee, interesting. Xavier, interesting. Lindsey, Such, UCLA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say Alabama, Houston, and then, Alabama and Houston are significantly higher than everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next most likely is probably, I guess that at that point, then it's just a bunch of,
it's a toss
a handful on a couple teams.
Right. Yeah, we'll wait and see.
Perks of picking Texas, baby.
Well, potentially.
Let's go, Marcus Carr.
Well, they have to win.
I know.
If they don't win, there's not.
Let's go, Marcus Carr. Take me to the promised land.
There's not a perk if they don't. Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
All right. What else you got, David? What else you want to say to the people?
I don't have a lot else. I think it's coming down to obviously March Madness winding down, NBA playoffs kind of coming into picture. It's exciting. Got the Masters coming up. Golf
it is
tournament.
Exciting.
So yeah, a lot of stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of stuff going on. But that's all I got.
All right. Shall we wrap episode 53?
Episode 53.
All right,
We
y'all.
are out.